Could you introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Piers Corbyn, and I was president of Imperial College Student Union from 1969 to 1970. I was an undergraduate here and got a first class degree in physics in 1968. And then I did some research and became president of the Student Union, and carried on doing research here, and then went off and did a MSc in astrophysics in Queen Mary College. So I'm a physicist and an astrophysicist, and have come here today as part of a little counter protest against the Extinction Rebellion presence here today. And as a former president of Imperial College Student Union, I'm completely shocked that an organisation like Extinction Rebellion should have got any listening to whatsoever in Imperial College, which is the place for the forefront of evidence-based science and technology. And there is no evidence for man-made climate change. It's a false idea, and the reality is that carbon dioxide levels follow temperatures, not the other way around. And the reason for that is that the carbon dioxide is in the sea 50 times more than in the air. And when the sea warms up, carbon dioxide is emitted, and when it cools down, carbon dioxide is absorbed. And there's a lag process involving oceanic circulation, which means actually that the CO2 now, if you study it going up, is to do as an after effect of the medieval warm period about 800 years ago. So man will have no effect whatsoever on what the sea is doing. Man's contribution to the CO2 flux in and out of the biosphere is only about 4%. 4%. So man's 4% cannot control the other 96% of CO2 anyway. And to believe that is to believe in a conspiracy theory of nature, which is complete nonsense. So when you realise this, it's not surprising that the scientists involved in promoting man-made climate change will not debate this. And I challenge any of them watching this to have a debate. Now, I know they won't, but there may be some who will. I don't know. Let's have a look. We challenge anyone out there to have a debate on the theory of man-made climate change, and they should come forward with evidence that CO2 levels are driving temperatures, because there's no evidence of that. And there's not a single scientific paper which shows that. We have many scientific papers talking about CO2 going up and saying that is dangerous, but these are assertions. So I'm calling here for evidence-based science, and I appeal to all students in Imperial College to think about what is Imperial College about. When I was here, we fought for proper evidence-based science, and we got support for it. We also fought for student representation, which didn't exist when I became president, but did when I ended being president, because I was elected on that platform. So the massive student representation you've got now originated in my presidency and the active students then. But science was always uppermost, and in those days there would be no way you'd have an anti-scientific organisation in existence. Absolutely no way. The Extinction Rebellion is an anti-scientific organisation funded by mega corporations for their own agenda. Their own agenda is to make money out of the scarcities. So, you have governments offering to pay billions or trillions even to build more super batteries or more wind farms or even dam the North Sea. All these projects are insane, but they're ways of taking money from you. The idea of climate policy is not actually to control climate, it's to control you, as we see.
Alright, can we talk about if you do, so are you denying climate change, or
No.
do you think, so what's your take on
Climate change
itself?
has always been happening. It's happened for millions of years, and we study it at Weather Action, and many scientists around the world study it. There are many fluctuations in climate. Biggest one, of course, is ice ages. You have ice ages which last 100,000 or so years, 100,000 years, and then you have interglacials, which are in now, warmer periods, which last in 10,000 years.
So are you agreeing with climate change like natural climate
Of course.
change, but denying man-made.
Absolutely. We deny there is any man-made climate change whatsoever. Carbon dioxide levels are driven by temperatures, and the sun drives temperatures. In fact, it's the magnetic and lunar relationships drive what happens on this planet for climate, and a lot of shorter range weather as well. But very specifically, you can understand the ice ages by the tilt of the Earth and the magnetic orientations relative to the Sun and the Earth, which you can work them out and give you these periods of 130,000 years, which are multiples of the 26,000 precessing period and the 19,000. Well, it's various things, but
Yeah.
you can go on our website and look at them, or look at this pamphlet.
Yeah, I might take that after the.
You might take
interview.
one of these and look at our fascinating little. So climate change has always existed. It's not man doing it. It's a completely man-centered theory. I mean, it's insane. You see, man's contribution to what happens on this planet is tiny. It's only, as I said, 4% of the total flux of CO2 in and out of the biosphere is due to mankind's total activity. Termites are a lot more important. So why don't we have a war on termites? Instead of a war on aeroplanes, we should have a war on termites. If these people are serious about wanting to reduce CO2. In fact, the rector here, at his office, he could say to the students, look, if you want to really cut down CO2 now, I suggest you have a war on termites and we turn off the heating in your halls of residence.
One last question about something more about the socio-political side of climate change. So there seems to be this theme where the younger generation is more are the climate change believers, whereas the older generation is like a generation battle. It seems almost. May I have your take on that side, aspect of it?
Well, that is largely true because of the 24/7 brainwashing from the BBC. I mean, they distort even weather reports. If it's warm, they talk about it. If it's cold, they don't. See, they talked about it being mild when we had those floods recently in Britain. They didn't tell you that at the same time, 600 weather stations in America recorded the lowest ever temperatures. And there was super cold in Russia and super cold in Saudi Arabia. We were in a warm sector, if you like, but there was massive super cold due to the wild changes in the jet stream. The wild jet stream behaviour is completely predictable in terms of solar lunar effects, and we predict these and do long range forecasting based on that. So I'm digressing from your question, but it's the brainwashing of the BBC and the manipulation of children in schools which makes them largely hostile to objective science, because that's what it is. But there are some in schools, and we have contact with them, and they come to our meetings, 17-year-olds, 18-year-olds who do know what science is and do support what we say, and they get a lot of trouble in the schools.
One last mini question. Do you
Sure.
it's more of a personal question, I guess, but would you say would anything change your mind on climate change?
Well, no, because the facts are carbon dioxide levels follow temperatures, and that man's contribution to CO2 is only 4%. Now, I'm not saying there couldn't be something else, I don't know, which might crop up. I mean, because, in science you never say never, 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 but, there's no evidence for the man-made claims. And I'm challenging again, anybody out there, any scientist listening to this, anybody involved in climate science, give me one scientific paper which shows that carbon dioxide drives climate, and in particular that man-made carbon dioxide drives climate. There's not one scientific paper out there, and you know that.
So would you say if we do manage to, if we ever find any evidence for that, would you say you might switch your sides?
Well, I look at all evidence, and I always do, which is why I'm where I am. Because I believed all sorts of things in my life which have turned out to be wrong. I had many attempts to do long-range weather forecasting, most of which failed until we found some involving solar activity and lunar modulation, which can give long-range forecasts. Like, for example, the hot summer of 2018, we predicted that months ahead. Many things we predicted months ahead. We're particularly skilled at predicting storms, major storms, tropical storm formation, stuff like that.
Would there be
Come on to weatheraction.com and find out more about it.
All right, awesome. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, and well done, student television, or rather television of Imperial College.